Day number 2, or technically day number 3 of practice for the Indianapolis 500. The 107th Indianapolis 500 has been completed, and lots of surprises, lots of not surprises. But first off, what do we think of today?
Well, today was definitely a Chip Ganassi racing, flexing the big dick energy all over this place. First and second in the tow times, and first and second in the no-tow times, both Marcus Ericsson and Scott Dixon.
Actually, Will Power is second in the no-tows.
Oh wow, he snuck one.
He did.
He did sneak one. So here's the deal. 229s once again, and once again they're the only ones in that zip code with the 229s. Fast time of the day and fast time of the month goes to Marcus Ericsson at a 229.6.
Yeah, and for day 2, that's cooking. He also, let me pull this up. All right, so he also has the fastest no-tow time at a 224.414. And with the qualifying boost being added tomorrow, we can anticipate anywhere from 9 to 10 miles an hour added onto that. So we're looking at a 234 for single car speeds from at least the 8 team tomorrow.
And actually on this one, we'll see. Definitely anything could happen tomorrow, but it looks like Chip Ganassi has the number on tow, no tow, in the corners, on the straightaways, and the short shoots. Pretty much anywhere you go in this facility, Chip Ganassi Racing has the number.
And I mean, Penske has caught up. Will Power is second fastest. Also, we'll talk about this more in a bit, but no tow time, third fastest Santino Ferrucci at a 224.277. Then we got Scott McLaughlin. So it looks like Penske is starting to show some decent speed. Chevrolet is showing some decent speed. The top 6 of the no tow times was an even split: 3 Honda, 3 Chevy.
Yeah, and in third place on the just total leaderboard, we have Simon Pagenaud taking third place. That's a little bit of a surprise. It's an Andretti affiliated team with Meyershank Racing, but the fact that they ended up third with a 228.6, that's actually pretty decent speed. We know that Andretti has struggled for kind of the top end speed, and they haven't really put up any stellar numbers, but for the Meyershank team to put that number up, not a bad day.
No, and I mean, we're still seeing a little bit of a struggle out of the 06 camp, but at least Pagenaud's car seems to be working. And of course, usually when one car at a team starts to work, you'll see them apply that knowledge to other cars and get the other cars up and running in a better way.
A team that showed a little bit of an improvement today was Arrow McLaren. So they actually seemed to march their way up. We documented yesterday that team really was kind of mid-pack at best. They started to fight their way forward. Are they exactly with the front runners? Not really at the moment. Their fastest car was Pato O'Ward in 8th position. I was kind of stumbling because I saw Rossi in 10th. So they didn't really have a terrible day, but they weren't exactly the best either.
And I personally think that McLaren is sandbagging. The cars just look phenomenal, especially in traffic. I really like what we're seeing. They're able to get nice and close to the car behind or in front of them. I think the sandbags are going to come out tomorrow from Arrow McLaren.
And I mean, we know that those cars are fast. Most, or at least the 5 car is the same chassis that raced here last year and the year before, and we know that car has pace.
And I mean, we saw Felix last year. He was in the mix in qualifying and in the race. But I think it more falls on, does Chevrolet have what it takes to win the race?
Now then, here's the next bit. So Juncos, we documented kind of the struggles of Callum Ilott yesterday. The struggles kind of continued. They had more pace today, but they didn't have necessarily the pace they'd like to have. Callum was still upset. Now, I believe that they changed chassis overnight. Don't quote me on that necessarily, but I believe that they did. Now, granted, we haven't really seen anything phenomenal out of that team, but they've definitely struggled.
Yeah, and I mean, Canapino seems to be doing fine. He's about mid-pack. I think he was 15th overall today. So we know they can at least get the job done. I mean, Callum was safely in the field last year. Not a surprise, we talked about it yesterday, the open test. They weren't happy with their car. Callum wasn't, and things don't seem to be improving. They were faster today. There was definitely a noticeable improvement, but I don't think it's enough still to guarantee them making the race.
Now, on the other end of things, on the very troubled spectrum, Ray Hall Letterman again.
Yep. And I mean, I didn't see any improvement out of them today. Catherine Legg still looks uncomfortable. She still looks like the car's just not doing what she needs it to do. And the other Ray Hall cars, I mean, they're just kind of there. I feel like they just don't have it.
Yeah, and on that note as well, I mean, the fastest Rahal car was in 12th on the overall kind of speed chart. That's not representative of the Noto. You know, Graham, he was in a pretty decent pack when he set that, so it's not really representative of what those cars can do. But Catherine Legg, slowest of the day at a 2:23.9.
And that's, I mean, sounds about right. We were in the e-box for the last few hours of practice today and all of yesterday, and both times in traffic especially, she looks very not comfortable. She is backing out a lot, had some close calls too today. I think last night that was my pick for who's going to go home. I'm still kind of confident it's going to be the 44 team. They just struggles with a one-time driver and a one-time team. It's just all compounding into that.
And not to mention the Rahal camp, they haven't been particularly good here since they won in 2020 with Sato.
And I've said I thought Sato was the magic glue that held that team together on the oval side, and with him gone, it's kind of interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, she had a really big moment into turn number 1. She got pushed up out of the groove, and that thing looked like it was beelining for the wall. So that was a definitely very sketchy moment.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of shows you she was in the way. Patents like that don't happen to people who aren't in the way.
And I did want to mention one thing. Kyle Kirkwood and goddamn David Malukas. Those two cannot stay away from each other on the track, and they cannot shy away from trying to kill each other. Good Lord, there has been at least 3 instances today, and there was a couple yesterday where those two had what shoulda, coulda, and would have been very big moments, but the kids held it together. I guess that shows you the quality of Indy Lights.
And Kirkwood, he's been very aggressive. You know, in the grand scheme of things, at least in practice, that's not good. But I like that aggression. I think it might pay off in the race. But in practice, that we need to stop this, because we've been saying for the last 2 days they are trying to wreck. They haven't yet, but they are trying to.
It's been very combustible, a lot of combustible elements. So that kind of wraps up for this video. However, there is a bonus segment, a new segment that we like to call Leave It to Beaver.
Boy, oh boy, what a day here at the racetrack. Let me tell you something. Let me talk to you real quick. Yeah! Looking at these time machines, the only thing that I have as a message from this is Ganassi with that big dick energy. Later in the day, he had no reason to send them out like that, but he did, and he came out there with them 224s like he was nothing, He made them look like fools out there. He made them embarrassed. He absolutely stunned on the field, and I can tell you for certain when they come back out there tomorrow that they're going to be coming out there with them 234s. I bet my 100 bathrooms in Texas that they're going to humiliate the field this weekend. Lock out, put it in. Ooh, kill him! Looking down at the bottom of the sheets, Catherine Legg, I tell you, she is scared. She is scared. Something in her is scared out there, and it is doing something to her. I don't know what it is, but something ain't right. She is scared out of her mind. She has regretted life choices up to this moment. But here's another thing you need to look at. Stephen Wilson in the Dryer and Reinbold car. He's 33rd. He's on the bump with a 224. No, that's a 224.6 to Catherine's 223.9. So it's going to be a question. Is it going to be Stephen's experience or just the fact that Rahal has that money, baby? Let's figure it out. Last thing I want to end on, let's talk about the people in that garage. I had an incredible day. I got to meet all my heroes. I met Spud Boy. I met that Kyle Larson. I don't know where he came from. He snuck up behind me like a jackrabbit. He scared the hell out of me. And then, of course, my boy, my main man. I love him more than Corvettes. I love him more than them New Balances. Scotty McLaughlin. He's my pick for this race. Lock it in. Bet on it. I bet my whole life toilets and my gas station and my car wash. I tell you something, you do not want to miss it. This is going to be quite a show, and I can't wait. Ooh, ooh, ooh.